and foremost, Granite State Camp 2020, give yourself a round of applause, our virtual round of applause, because we're all in our intimate settings, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, and we want to give the Granite State camp and staff, the JCs, including you counselors, all the props because um, COVID has its downfalls, but it also has its beauties. And the beauty of this is that the running community, um, we got inspiring. We found ways to be innovative. We found ways to communicate our message. Am I here? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you guys, all right. Say, I'll reach.
You're a little broken up now. Coach H, we can't hear you at all. All right. Creedon, are you going to sub in?
Yeah, I can sub in.
All right.
What do you want to talk about?
You got to be as inspirational as Coach H.
Oh, man.
Hold on, he's coming back in.
Oh, he's coming back. Okay. Cool.
You got to be as fired up as he is.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. Did
All right, there we go.
lose you guys?
I
don't know. Yeah, did I lose you guys?
We did lose you, but you're back.
All right. No, I do apologize. So I was just stating, let me turn on my video, that so kids, the beauty behind COVID is that we're learning all to be innovative and creative. A lot of us are using these virtual spaces. So I think this is something that we might want to get accustomed to. We want to also give a shout out to the virtual world, especially the Granite State running platform for putting this on, because all of us have experienced something that we all can relate to. It's not about who runs a 4-minute mile, who runs, girls sub 5 minutes. We're all experiencing COVID. Now, how we cope with that is all different. But I would want to stress to all student athletes out here, this is a time to build team building. This is a time to foster the relationships, because most of us may be running in groups, might be running individually, but take full advantage of the Zoom, because team culture is truly the success of the team, and with this downtime, and we don't know what school looks like. I want to stress to you guys out there, Sebastian Gilligan, I think to see you in here. You guys need to be the leaders of your respective schools and your respective teams. And leadership doesn't mean the fastest kid. Leadership is having that wellness check. Wellness check goes a long way in these days of times, because for us to be efficient runners, we need to make sure that mentally, cerebrally, and inside that we're all set. Because sometimes all it takes is a mishap or, something that throws us off course. And I think we all have been thrown off course, depending whether you're a coach, depending on you're an athlete. Like I was sharing earlier, I want high school athletes, I understand the level, but this is an example. I want us to treat this as the Olympics, because if you look at it, someone was training for the last 4 years and they didn't get to run this summer, right? And this is our elite athletes here in America, the elite athletes around the world. They didn't get a chance to compete, but that did not stop them from training. And I think this is the most important part of this COVID pandemic, is that kids, you can work on the other half of what makes you complete. Some kids may be, strength-based runners, you can work on your speed, or vice versa. If you're speed, you can work on your strength. If you're a beginning runner, this is the times you can learn the nuances of running. This is the time to get your base. And then if you want to talk about health reasons, if you want to talk about motivation to get outside, this is the time to do it. because of COVID, you don't want to be inside. You want to get outside, get the vitamin D. The vitamin D is definitely good for the body, but it's also good for you as a person. You get outside, you start to break a sweat. So last year, when I had an opportunity to speak, we spoke about short-term and long-term goals, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. I kind of stick on that subject. And for me, things haven't really changed. You know, I still have a goal. My goal is I want to compete. I want to make sure that my athletes are mentally and physically ready for the next competition. There's some things that I am not in control. And I think there's some things that I want to share with you guys. And those things that we are in control of is attitude and effort. I can't control if the vaccine's coming. I can't control what the weather looks like. I can't control if we're going to be hybrid remote learning. But what I can control is my attitude first and my effort. My attitude on how I'm dealing with COVID, attitude how I'm processing, attitude how I am with my teammates, attitude at home, effort. What kind of effort am I putting out with my teammates? What kind of effort am I being at home? You know, my parents, all our parents, some of our parents are going through it because parents are now accustomed to just working their 9 to 5s. Now parents have to do double duties, put on the teacher hat as well. So attitude and effort, that's what I really want to stress to us. Because when I talk to you guys, you know, you guys are the future, not only of our sport, most important, but the future of our country, and then third, the future of this world. You know, I'm happy to share with you guys that my wife is 8 months pregnant, you know, and my baby's due, my first child's due next month, September 24th. And I had my moments of ups and downs during COVID, but what kept me together, what kept me strong was to realize that through this virtual platform of Bay State Running, I got to meet the future of my state, the future of the country. And I can speak from the Dual County to the Middlesex to the BPS to Western Mass. I've interviewed and I've sat down and I've talked with the best kids, if not the best, just kids in general. And I have conviction that the world is in a good place. So I ask you guys, kids, right now, we can't compete, right? There's no Wrexham tomorrow. You're not going to, but can you be a better person tomorrow? And the answer is yes. Can you control your attitude? And the answer is yes. Can you control your effort? The answer is yes. We can control those two things. And you control your attitude and your effort, and you bring that into your environment. Because trust me, kids, I trust you as you say this. I say this to you. Once you guys start to do, if you haven't done captain's practice, if you haven't got around your peers, it's going to be an organic. It's going to be synergy. You're going to feel it because I'm noticing this. Kids, you guys, we just miss being around each other. So this is the time, right? As much as they use the term pandemic, yes, there's a lot of bad things going on, but let's look at the brighter things is that you have an opportunity today to become a better person. Attitude and effort. Attitude and effort. That's the only thing that we can stress. You know, I'm part of the MSTCA. Their coaches, Zach Creedon is part of the MSTCA. They're working around the clock trying to provide opportunities for us, for coaches, for students to participate in our beloved sport. But we can't control external factors. COVID, how it's spreading, how people are acting in Texas and Florida. We can't control that, but can you control your attitude and your effort? And I believe the answer is yes. The better effort, the better your practice. The better attitude, the better the practice. And to be honest, we don't know what's the future looks like. So I would take a deep breath, kids. Take a deep breath and know that we're all in it together. No one's by themselves. You know, that's a thing. One thing that I've noticed that COVID has gotten us together as a community. I'm so proud of the running community because the running community, you and I, we are part of this beloved community. If you play basketball, you couldn't do nothing for 2-3 months. In the city, the courts are zip tied. How do you work on your game? How do you work on your craft? Right? If you're a football player, you can't hit, you know? Us as runners, we can work on our craft. continuously. We can always sharpen the sword, and that goes back to the attitude and effort. So I kind of want us to look at it things a little bit different. Yes, COVID is here. COVID is real. You must practice the social distance. Kids, it's serious, you know, and it's not only about you, but it could be your parent. Your parent could be of age. Your great grandparent could be of age. So it's very, very important for us to be very mindful of the time that we in, and that it's safety over sport. We love our sport. Our sport is the beloved sport, but it's safety over sport. So while we're in this premise, be safe when you're practicing. You know, the summer is starting to wind down. It's going to be hot today. Make sure you're hydrating. But most important, another part of safety is the wellness check. To build a great team aspect, captains check in with everyone. If you guys are group that, you have a group text, utilize it. Some people use WhatsApp, some people use GroupMe. There's a lot of group applications. Make sure that you guys have a communication amongst yourself. Make sure there's communication amongst you and the assistant coaches and the coaches, because everyone's going through it. Your coaches are going through it. Your coaches are dying. I'm speaking on behalf of all the coaches in Massachusetts. We're dying to get out there. Like, we feel like fish out of water. We're not around our beloved sport, what we do it for. So, you know, kids, when you take a step back, take advantage of this opportunity right now. How can I become a better student? How, in these challenging times, how can I become a better student athlete? Even though we may not be competing today or tomorrow, you will compete eventually. So I challenge everyone. You must maintain that focus. You must maintain that drive, you know, because when the time comes, you will compete, you know, and it's definitely difficult. So I don't want all of us to feel down, you know. I was looking forward to this spring campaign, you know, indoor and outdoors. I am assistant coach at St. John's Prep. For the first time in my coaching career, I had kids that were competing at a national level. I was really looking forward to seeing what my 4-mile could potentially do, what my freshmen could do in the boys' mile, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But what I do know is that those young men are going to be working toward the next opportunity that they can compete. And this is the team that is defending cross-country all-state champions, right? So that trickles down. If we believe that we can do it, I could challenge every kid here in Massachusetts. Work on this time to strengthen your team, strengthen the dynamics, wellness check with every kid. If you're a captain, you have 40 kids, and it's hard to text everyone in the group chat, get the WhatsApp. But as long as we're checking in with each other, because this is most important, because COVID has us going ups and downs. I know a lot of kids who were, you know, disengaged with training, because when Governor Baker announced, you know, the shutdown, kids were like, well, you know, I'm not gonna have an outdoor season. So they kind of like cut back from the training, especially those who were juniors, who were seeking to get those times for outdoors, for they could, like, you know, have leverage with colleges. It's not too late. All right, kids, first and foremost, these college opportunities are not going to dwindle because there's no COVID. If anything, this is an opportunity to present yourself as a better candidate, so that when you do reach out to that prospective university or that prospective college, you're a better student athlete and you're a better athlete. Yeah, you're just better all around. And, you know, let's use COVID to be more innovative, more creative. I spoke to several coaches. Some coaches are still going to have time trials. So kids, your season is not over. If you're a junior and senior, it is not over. Take full advantage of the time trial. If you're a freshman and sophomore, you're just trying to figure it out, this is the most important time to work on your core, work on your flexibility, use your downtime, become well-rounded. This is the best thing that we could possibly do. And, you know, let's inspire each other, you know, make sure that you guys are communicating utilize social media, go to the Granite State running camp, IG, share the stories, ask questions for your JCs. The JCs are here for that reason. The JCs were once you. They were once in your position, all right? And think about this now. The JCs are not out in the beautiful campgrounds. They're not eating that amazing food from Miss Cooley. They're actually here to serve you guys. They want you guys to become better athletes. So ask questions. The most important thing is to ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question or a wrong question. You want to ask, because that's part of the growth. When I came in to this medium of this coaching umbrella or coaching fraternity, 6 years ago, I just asked question after question after question. Because in high school, I was a decent runner, pretty good, but I didn't know the nuances of what it took to become a coach. So I asked and I studied. So younger underclassmen, look up to your upperclassmen, male and female. Ask the girls captain, the boys captain. Use them as examples. They're the ones that are navigating COVID. They've been through high school. Now they went through a whole season without them competing. Most important, the wellness checks. Check in with your coach. Check in with your extended family. Your team is your extended family, as well as your family as well. When school starts, you guys will make calculated risk. You, meaning you, the student athletes, when you're conducting practice, you'll be put in a position that, 6 feet may be compromised. It's what it is. We're cross-country runners, we're runners. Like, the course is not going to be 6 feet apart. So we have to be very, very mindful of communication. We have to be very mindful of trust. We have to be very mindful of the respect the boundaries. Also, as a coach, I have parents that haven't sent their kids to captain's practice. I have kids that are running, but there's some kids that haven't ran yet because their parents are just not there. Their parents may not be comfortable yet. Respect that. This is all unprecedented times. But when we look back, I promise you, whether you're class of 20, class of 2021, whatever your class is, you're going to look back and be like, COVID made me stronger. Time propelled me to have a successful career, because it's not always going to be like this. This is just temporary. So I always tell my athletes that, especially in that last K, we run 5Ks, we run 5,000 meters. Pain is temporary, but the feeling of victory and personal best lasts forever. And I'll say that again, bear with me one moment, is that pain is temporary, feelings of victory last forever. Personal best lasts forever. So right now, this is a temporary space. You guys are gonna look back in 2025 like, oh man, remember COVID? Wear your mask, get outside, and use this outlet. You have a gift. The gift is athletics. There's some kids that who are not getting up from the hospital bed today. That's the reality. There are some kids who may be compromised. They may have disabilities. You and I can get up today and run. That's motivation one. If you are not compromised, if COVID has not compromised your respiratory system, if you have an ability to put your 2 feet in front of you and go out there. Definitely go out there. It's that important. And most important, kids, take a deep breath, take a step back and relax. Because the things that we can control, what COVID has done is highlighted the good and the bad. We can't control our president. We can control the scientists. We can control when the vaccine will be released. We can't control those things. However, you can control your attitude. You can control when you practice, how you practice. You can control, hey, coach, how you doing? Those are the things that we can control. We can control our attitude. We can control our effort. Once we take a step back, let the politicians do their things. Let the school board do their things. Let us be students. Let's be the best students, though. Let's 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 get into this space. We're going to be Zooming. Kids, we're going to be Zooming, right? So let's just get accustomed to that. How can I become a better Zoom student? Zoom is a new platform. Challenge yourself. How can I be more efficient runner? Challenge yourself. This is the time to do it. Because, I really believe that us here in Massachusetts will be the pioneers of the hybrid learning, the remote learning. A lot of, besides Texas and California, our school district and our university systems top tier in the world. So I believe the world will be seeking to you guys, not Coach Cooley, not Coach Creedon, not Coach H, you guys. You guys are the future of my country, the future of our country. You children will set the tone so that that baby is in my wife's womb will understand that this world's a better place, because this group, despite the circumstances, despite the hangups of COVID, this group, this class of 2020, class of 2021 was innovative, was creative, found a way to connect with their teammates, found a way to connect with their coaches. Just because we will not be meeting at the track or meeting at your meeting location doesn't mean that the Zoom meetings shouldn't be popping. Zoom meetings should be full. Do yourself a favor. If you're an upperclassman, grab a freshman. If there's a kid in your neighborhood, ask the kid, hey kid, join the Zoom meeting. Why not? Try it out. Because cross country, the sport, there is no cut in our sport. Track and field, there is no cuts in our sport, in that you can really gauge progress. In other sports, you can mask somebody's weaknesses. Like I said earlier, for my basketball players in the city, my neighbors, these kids are going crazy because all they want to do is play against each other. But that's the only way they can gauge how good they are. Because someone could sit in the backyard and shoot basketball hoops day and out. But when you get into the game, you may not be able to get the shot off because you're not playing against defense. Where us, as runners, you can go for a recovery run and you will get the gains. You can go for a tempo run, you'll get the gains. So every time we go out as runners, we grow. Basketball, certain sports, you really need someone there to really gauge, did I really grow? Because shooting by yourself in the backyard is different when someone's playing defense on you. But going on that solo long run, and if your long run was 4 miles, you bumped your long run to 6 miles, my friend, you have just grown and you don't need anyone with you. You've grown. So this is how beautiful our sport is. Our sport requires self-development. Our sport will enhance discipline. So kids, please, I trust, this is new for me. This is new for everyone. This is new for all of us, COVID. But I challenge us. And what I say to you, I say to myself, how are we going to operate in this post-COVID world? And it starts with our attitude and our effort. That's me. Will be our attitude and effort. Anxiety levels have raised. People are freaking out. People don't know about the unknown. If we control our attitudes, we control our effort, we might bring some calmness to our neighbor. We might bring some calmness to an elderman or our family member, because we are content on the things that we can control. We can't control the school board. We can control if the MIA decides they're going to push back the season. We can't control those things. And if they do push it back, kids, keep grinding. That's it. You gotta keep grinding. It doesn't stop. The grind never stops. So those are things that you gotta, keep in mind. The grind will never stop. You can control your attitude, you can control your effort, but we can't control those other things. Have wellness checks with the whole team. This is a time that, the team bonding should be amazing. What I would love to see, I may be selfish, that the next time we're at Rentham, or it's the next time we're at an invitational meet, I want to see the synergy even more. because our sport, you know, the tents, the kids set up the tents. It's twilight, it's a big deal. Rent them, it's a big deal. Football, one team's on the other side, another team's on the opposite side in the stands. Not so much interaction. There's not so much interaction. At track meets, whether it's at the Reggie Lewis, whether at Rentham, no matter we interact, you know, through camps, we interact. So let's continue to interact in our beloved community, because our beloved community is setting the tone. You know, it is really setting the tone. And believe it or not, I really believe life is a full circle. The first Olympic sport was running, and it's going to go back to that. You know, NCAAs is suspended, certain sports, college football, certain sports suspended. Florida Marlins, half that baseball team has COVID. But guess what? Molly Seidel tomorrow. Is Molly running? Not slowing Molly down. That's the beauty of our sport. Molly's part of the Olympic team. She has 18. She runs for Saucony, but doesn't slow her down. So if you're my man Sebastian Gillen, and you run for Mascow has a great team, but Sebastian must continue to do the running on his own. And that's what I challenge you kids. Make sure you get your runs in. Make sure you get this vitamin D. Make sure you have these wellness checks with your teammates, your families, your coaches. Because your coaches are like me. You see these gray hairs are coming in. We're just freaking out, man, because we miss it. We miss the competition. This is our joy. We love watching you guys just work so hard and just get at it gladiator style. But right now, that's on reserve because we can't control the MIA. We can't control what Governor Baker decides, but we can control what type of attitudes we are as coaches. We can control our effort. Are we communicating with our captains? Are our kids running captain's practice? Are our kids getting their long runs? Kids, get your core in. There's no excuse right now. Like, there is really, really no excuse. I'm going to challenge you kids. There's going to be a kid on your team or a kid that you know that went to work the last few months, didn't let COVID slow them down of anything. They went harder. So that girl who could barely break 6 minutes in the mile, after COVID, she's going to come out running 5:30 because she was focused. She controlled her attitude and her effort. That boy that was struggling to run 5:10 in the mile, he's going to be running 4:45 in the mile. He's going to have an amazing season because he controlled his attitude and his effort. Attitude and effort, kids. Control your attitude and your effort. I'm going to continue to drill that. But, besides that, I would want to talk about, the next season and season coming ahead. And I'm wishful thinking. I really want the season. I would like to see if my colleagues and my kids have an opportunity to compete. I really want that. But I'm also prepared to train all the way to January. Some of my kids, we've had that long conversation. Like, you know what, kids? We may not get back in competition until January, and they're ready to just train. So kids, take a step back, take a deep breath. First and foremost, the exercise that I try to practice is, put your hand over your heart. You got to have that wellness check with yourself. You got to look yourself in the mirror. Put your hand over the heart. When you're in the mirror, you got to say, I need to take care of he or she. You have to have that mirror reflection. Sometimes we don't do that. And this is an exercise that I started doing as an adult. It's so easy for us to go through the ups and downs and the 9 to 5s without doing our personal wellness check. And I'm asking you guys to check in with everyone else, your mother, your fathers, your teammates, your coaches. But most important, you need to check in with yourself. Check in with yourself. Put your hand over your heart. Look in the mirror. And you'll be surprised the power of self-reflection. A lot of us don't do self-reflection. I'm thinking self-reflection is playing Call of Duty. No, I'm just playing video games. Self-reflection is really getting in front and asking myself some meaningful questions that will benefit me in the long run. So kids, man, it's not too much. I just want to say is the dreams are tangible goals. Make sure that you guys leave some comments on the Granite State running IG. Coach Cooley didn't have to do this, you know. The GCs didn't have to do this. They're being accessible because you know why, kids? They control their attitude and their effort. They control that they want to be there for you. They control that effort that they want to be able to service you. That's how we pay it forward. That's how we pay our running community forward. And that's what makes this running community so vibrant and so beautiful, because it's just like that. And one day you kids will be a JC. One day you kids might be a coach. So take heed to what other coaches have been doing. Take heed to what your captains are doing in this unprecedented times. No one is right and no one is wrong. Some people don't want they don't want their children to come to practice because of they don't have masks, etc. That parent isn't wrong. And if there's some parents, if your parent allows you to go out, you know, make sure you honor mom and dad by helping around the house, doing some chores, because your parents trust you that you will go out into this environment, in this COVID environment, that you will be able to go run 4 or 5 miles, come back home safe. So at least you can do is help around the house, help your mom, because she's probably overwhelmed with more work to do around the house. So it does take a village. It does take a village to raise a child, kids. So, you know, Coach Cooley, I don't know much, I don't know what else to say. I just want us to just have a moment of clarity, a moment of understanding, and a moment to know that, you know, we're all in it together. And I just want to control your attitude and your effort. Those are the two things that has kept me going through COVID. You know, I've lost an aunt, I've lost friends, people have passed that I love dearly, but me controlling my attitude, me controlling my effort is why I'm here. Because I could have easily just like, oh, give up, boo-hoo, but I can't do that because no one gave up on me, and someone allowed me a chance to flourish and blossom. So all I want to do is be a representative of any of the vehicles I represent, whether it's MSTCA, Bay State Running, my coaching hat, whatever. We want to be there to service you. So hopefully that one day you guys pay it forward for my son who's coming into this world. So guys, peace and blessings. Make sure that, like I said, make sure you follow the Granite State IG account. Make sure that video, if you can, share it. Share it with your teammates. Take notes and discuss about how can we improve the team environment, the team chemistry, because we can make that thing dynamic. We can make it solid. We can make it airtight, because there's nothing else stopping you. There's nothing from stopping you guys that, you know, every kid that I believe that puts on a singlet here in Massachusetts, track and field, cross country, you deserve that meaningful and amazing experience that I had. And that's the reason why I run, because I had such an amazing experience. I fell in love with the process. Hated hard work, but when I started to work hard, I gained benefits, and that came through my self-esteem, that came through my morale, and I'm forever blessed. I'm forever grateful, and I would have never thought 20 years ago that I'd be here, you know, but I am here. So that's why I try to take full advantage of this discourse, and hopefully that you guys can, you know, maybe get inspired when school officially opens. What you'll see is that the runners are together, man. The football players and the basketball players are gonna be going through it. Like, we as runners, we're gonna be.
Oh, I think we lost Coach H again. But I know that he was on his way to go help a family member out with something, help his grandfather out with something. So I think that's where he was on his way to. So thought he did a great job for us again today. He was so good last year and did an excellent job again this year. So I will be reaching out to him later on to thank him personally And I thought he had a great message, and I know there's guys on the team that I coach that have been getting after. I'm looking, actually, Noah Kim just put claps on there, and I know that Noah ran a half marathon for the first time just last week. So really bumped up his long run over what it would have been last summer or even over the winter. So people have been grinding, and I think Coach H was totally right about that, is that those people are going to come back, and they're going to come back really strong. So that's been great to see. We have two breakouts today, as I mentioned earlier. The first is going to be Coach Gorvin, kind of piggybacking on some of the things that Coach H just said, but also I think almost a longer term perspective as well, from his training and things that he's gone through. And then at 12:30, we have a breakout about college applications that's being led by the JCs, who much more recently applied to college than I did. So they have a much better perspective on that kind of stuff than I would. And I'm sure there's some nuances that I don't even think about, given all this COVID stuff that's going on. And I'm sure they'll have suggestions on how to stand out. And, I think whether you're going to be a senior in the fall, or, maybe you're going into sophomore or freshman year, these are things to think about and take some notes. And it's always good to get a lot of advice. So we'll obviously have a bit of a break in between, but, please do come back at 12:30 for that. And then at 3:30, we have core today, being led by Jordan Thomas, also known as DJ JT. And I think he said this morning that he's working on a soundtrack for core as well, which is, I wouldn't expect any less from him. So be sure to be back for those things. Coach Gorvin's been on staff since year 2 of camp. This would have been lucky year number 13. So maybe that explains why we're stuck in coronavirus quarantine. But Coach Gorvin's been a huge help. Has always been willing to do anything at camp. Has recruited campers and speakers and coaches, and I'm sure has probably helped in the kitchen. And he's really done everything along the way that you can. And when I put the call out to the coaches for some topics, he had this topic immediately, and then of course immediately also had a speaker that he was going to try to get. So he's always all in on camp, and I really appreciate that, and especially knowing that we only have a few more years, I think, left with Coach coming up to help us out at camp. So I'm really I am taking advantage of it a little bit, and we got him to do this breakout. So I'm going to hand it over to Coach Gorvin, and just unmute yourself and we'll get going.
There we go. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you, yep.
Okay, well, I'll take that as a yes. I want to talk for no more than 5 minutes, in all honesty here. And I'm going to tell you the story of my year since I left camp till now, and how I ended up picking the pieces, because basically the wheels came off the bus for me running-wise in the last year. And I would do throw in, I think I made grilled cheese sandwiches once in the kitchen, so I have cooked at least once. I left camp a year ago, and 2 weeks later hurt my hamstring doing a trail run training for a race I was planning on doing in September. And it wasn't that bad, so I took a little time off. And because of the race and had that goal in mind, I started back too soon. I think Nate said something about that yesterday. Don't start back too soon because it costs you down the road. Well, I started back too soon, and it cost me down the road because I re-injured the hamstring, much worse the second time. On that run, I had to walk home. I jogged home the first time. I had to walk home the second time when I re-injured it, and I couldn't do anything immediately afterwards. Other than walking the dog, those who were at camp last year met my dog, and she came up halfway through. So the only exercise I got for a few weeks was walking the dog, and that turned into a couple months. In 38 years of running, I shut it down for 2 months for the first time. So I've probably been more lucky than good over those 38 years. So by November, I was starting to feel better, but I was in horrible shape. Needless to say, after 2 months of complete inactivity at age 60, no less. Well, 59 at that point. I've since turned 60. So start back up in November. I'm just going to go slow and easy, build this back up, and didn't have a lot of races planned, but I said, I just need to get back into shape. So I ran for about 3 or so weeks. And in the first week of December, I got pneumonia. As I stressed to Coley and the other coaches in a message a few weeks ago, it was not COVID-19. I double and triple checked with my doctors on that after the COVID thing came out, but I had a pretty good case of pneumonia, missed 2.5 weeks of work, and missed Christmas too, actually. I was still sick at Christmas Day, so I just kind of passed on spreading that. By New Year's Day, I was starting to feel better, but then my doc told me I'm going to need a month to get my lungs back in some degree of shape, even though all the acute symptoms had gone away. So I slowly started building up again in January. And by the end of January, I started to feel a little better. And so I signed up for a 3-race series that a friend of mine directs in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts called the Wild Rover Series. It was a 3-mile and a 4-mile and a 5-mile on 3 consecutive weekends. And my times were atrocious. I won't say publicly what they were, especially if this is going to end up on YouTube. By the 3rd one, I was sort of human again. That was the 5-mile one, and it wasn't completely awful. And I started to feel like I was getting a little aerobic capacity back. My leg strength was starting to come back. And so I had signed up for then 1 or 2 other races, which then got canceled because of COVID. And my build-up stopped again with the COVID and the other races. So now I'm into the first week of March or so. All the events get shut down the next week. So I dialed it back again for a little while. I didn't make the same mistake I made last fall and doing too much too soon and me injuring myself. I just slowly built up, some walking, some running. It took me till June to get back to doing a total of 100 miles a month, something I used to do quite routinely. And then started thinking again, what can I do, even in the COVID thing, to challenge myself? Because I had, Coach H just talked about goals and motivation, and I had neither one, honestly, from the winter to the spring. I was just kind of going through the motions of a lot of things. So running to me is a personal, you get together and you do it, you chase each other, you race each other, you try to beat each other, then you laugh about it when you're done and you talk about it. And there was none of that. So I kind of reluctantly entered some virtual events because I needed something to focus myself on. And there were a couple, one of them, a friend of mine owns a timing company and manages some races. He did a 3-mile, 5-mile, 6-mile series. He had to do all 3 on prescribed weekends over the course of about 2 months from May to July. So I did that, and then at the same time signed up John Burke from Bay State Timing Services in Massachusetts, did a virtual Plymouth to Provincetown relay, which used to be a real event back in the 80s and 90s. So he brought that back virtually. It was 81 miles. You had about 6 weeks to do it at your own schedule. And I did that. I was in enough shape at that point that I was able to exceed the 81. So I tried to run back to Plymouth from Provincetown before the July 31st deadline and didn't make it. I think I made it back to about Dennis, if you were to think of the Cape geography. But I exceeded the goal for myself there, and then I did the miles before the deadline and was able to still feel pretty good in the process of doing it. And one other event came up that I did. It was very creative. Some of my teammates and some of the road runners were doing it. We did it individually. We put a team in. It was run the length of the tracks of the New York City subway system, which I've learned is 245 miles of tracks. So we did a virtual New York City subway run together, and I had from, I think, sometime in June it started, you had to Labor Day, and I finished it about a week ago. And didn't do any of these things fast, but what these events helped me do was get a little focus back and gave me some accountability, because one of the contingencies of entering these events is you have to log in every day and report your workouts. It's on the honor system. Some people use Strava. I'm not a big tech guy, so I didn't use Strava or anything else, but I just logged in my time, my distance, and you do it every day so people can track how they're doing, and you can use that as a accountability and hopefully some motivation. So that, in effect, has been my year, and my difficulties, independent of COVID, started before then with the injury, which is now 100% healed. The pneumonia is 100% healed, and now I'm just getting back to running 100 miles, up to 100 miles a month regularly. The first month it was about 50 walking, 50 running. I'm back to about running about 3/4 of that at this point. And still doing the dog walks for the warm-ups and cool downs and the rest of it. And so I'm going to try in August to get to a total of 125, and then see what I've been reevaluating literally every week as well as every month, where I'm at and where I think I want to go next. My goals are constantly revised. It's been a real challenge for me because I've never had that much trouble getting motivated until this year and do different things. So I'll probably sign up for another virtual event because I have a feeling road racing's not really coming back this fall. I haven't counted, there's one event in Essex, actually 2 events in Essex County. There's a couple trail races happening. And incidentally, I sent Colby some links this morning on those 2 live events, plus some virtual events. If hopefully, knock on wood, cross country does not get completely canceled, I'm not sure anyone's positive of that at this point. I know it's delayed till mid-September. And there's some things you can do either before or during that time till mid-September, and if you need be to keep you going through the fall. So that's the short story on it. And what I was hoping will happen with this is other people will say what they've been doing to keep themselves motivated. And I'll throw Coley out there first. Maybe he can talk about what he's done, and other people can chime in and talk about what they've done.
Yeah, it's the motivation thing has been big. I was ramping up for Boston, for April, and I think they canceled it when it was about 5 weeks out. So really, you're down to 3 weeks of real training, and then your 2-week taper, and you're kind of grinding through the winter. Although this winter wasn't too bad, but you're building those miles up, and then all of a sudden, that gets pulled away from you, and that's your big goal. And I had Tim Bro, who's spoken at camp and is the Wellesley coach, and coaches professionals for Saucony. He was good enough as a friend to be willing to coach me for Boston, and he has some intense workouts that I didn't always finish, but you kind of get all wrapped up into that and the psychological aspect of it, and just pushing yourself through that mentally, and then it gets pulled from you, and I kind of moped for a week. I think I went out, it either got canceled or it got postponed originally on a Thursday or Friday. And I went to go up and run in the fells here with, and I think I went for 10 minutes and I was like, screw this. I don't care. I don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And maybe went for a half hour the next day. And after about a week, I was like, all right, well, this thing might happen in September, so I'll start to ramp up. And I was actually just talking to a Winchester grad who Boston was going to be. This was going to be his first time running Boston, and he said the same thing. Is that it was like a week. He felt bad for himself after they originally postponed Boston, and then he got back into it. So it's been tough because you have to kind of readjust your goals, as John spoke about, as Coach Gorvin spoke about, and as Coach H, talked about, is, having those goals. But things are gonna change, whether it's timetables changing, or sometimes you can experience a setback at the beginning of a season, but by the end of a season, things are going better than you expected. So now all of a sudden you had to adjust a goal for maybe a mid-season goal, and now you got to adjust that end of season goal because the goal went down a little bit and now it's going to move back up. So that's a big thing. And now with no Boston in September, I'm just kind of training and I'm grinding out miles. And I've been fortunate to run with a couple of Winchester alumni who are running for their respective colleges, and it's been nice to be out there with people like Coach Gorvin said. Running is a thing that we were forced into doing by ourselves for a long stretch, but it is a thing that is really enjoyable when done with other people. And I can see some of the names on here for the guys that I coach, and I don't want to necessarily pick on any of them individually because they might not feel comfortable, but I think any of them could really speak to the season ending. So many of these guys ran great indoor seasons, and they were ready to ramp up for outdoor. I mean, they were getting in the weight room, they were getting their miles in, they were doing everything right. And then outdoor got pulled away from us. But knowing what some of these guys are doing, I mentioned Noah earlier, but I know how much work guys like Pat Medic and like Bradley has done. I've seen him out on the roads, which has been awesome. I know Danny's been out grinding down the Cape, and so many different guys. I've seen Joris out and Alex out running a few times. Gabe and I have been in touch, so I know that I was out with Jay the other day. I mean, I just know so many of these guys are really grinding through. So if any of you guys want to chime in with what has gotten you through, whether it's been up and down, and I know it's been up and down for you guys. I just admitted it was up and down for me. Coach Gorvin said the same thing. So if any of you guys want to chime in, just raise your hand. We'll unmute you and kind of go from there. I'll give you a free T-shirt if you
there you go.
chime in. Wow. Oh, Alex. All right. There we go. Alex gets a free T-shirt. Here we go, buddy.
Let's go. The lighting's kind of bad, but I'm always happy to talk about just like reflecting on training and stuff. But yeah, the hardest part for me was the uncertainty. Personally, I love playing around like races and stuff and having a certain sense of, okay, so I'm going to peak here. I'm going to be doing this many miles balanced out with, other cardio and stuff. But hopefully this is something that applies to other people. Something that's been super helpful has been keeping a training log. Because at the end of the day, whether I did a long run or I got out for a workout, and I talked to you at the beginning of the summer, I tried to do a 5-mile tempo, didn't eat before, ended up doing like a 2-mile tempo. But keeping a log has been super helpful because there are ups and downs at the end of every month, for example. It's super motivating to see like, well, maybe I didn't go as far as I wanted, but I got better. So that's what I've been doing. Keeping a log has been super helpful, and just staying in touch. I was out with Noah Kim just this morning before the run, or before the call. We were out running. So just trying to keep a log to see where I'm going long term, and just trying to get out with other guys has been super helpful. I don't know if Noah wants to talk about the run.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Noah.
Lost in the Fells. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Cole, you said Noah just did a half marathon.
Well, training-wise, he didn't race.
Did he do it a virtual race, a real race somewhere, or did he just cover the distance? Yeah.
I unmuted him, so Noah's going to talk himself up after running these big miles.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just like kind of in the middle of breakfast right now, but it was a virtual half marathon. It was, I think, supposed to be in the Cape normally, but they just let you do it anywhere. You just had to record like the distance and time. I actually kind of hurt my ankle a little around mile 11 or so. It's better by now, but and like when you're that far in, you can't. I didn't really want to stop, but I was really happy with my time, and it was a cool thing to do since it was my first one. Both my dad and sister have run half marathons, but I never really got a chance to. So it was nice that they were holding a virtual thing, even though it couldn't happen in person.
Good for you, man. Excellent.
Very nice. Yeah. Anybody else? I know, like, like I said, I know like Jay has been kind of up and down with some of his training. I think Dante's been pretty consistent, if I remember correctly. Do you want to speak up, Dante? Nod your head, yes or no. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Yeah, Dante. I know Dante's been pretty consistent, and it's not, and that has not always been easy when you're used to being on a team and used to being with people all the time. So,
Yeah.
So what's kept you going, Dante?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's important to start with is just the barrier that I started with, which is the fact that when like as a freshman, I think a lot of my motivation came from seeing like the upperclassmen like have these really successful times and be really consistent. And that's always something great to look up to. So when I kind of had to run on my own, I kind of had to reevaluate my strategy when it came to motivation. And so in the times when I wasn't able to run with other people, I kind of just made it about just imagining being there with everyone and just being able to have other people there to motivate me, and just think about like I remember we were discussing yesterday in the breakout talking about long-term goals and how it's important to stick with longer goals. So yeah, I'm trying to be consistent that way.
Excellent. All right. Anybody else? And then we'll give you guys a longer break than normal in between breakouts. But anybody else? We've got a couple of the Winchester girls on here.
Looks like George has got his hand up.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Yes, sir.
Hey. So I just wanted to touch upon what you said earlier, like, because now we're not really able to run together as a team, and that's kind of, I'm always reminded of that every time I go out to do like a workout, maybe like on the track or just like a tempo run in general, because usually, like, well, for track workouts especially, I'm always, basing myself off of where I am I in the right place based on other people in the team. It's always good to have the team just to know like where you need to be, but like without them, it's you're kind of basing it off of just like effort, and maybe that effort might not be exactly right, but I mean, it's close, but it's always better with a team. And I remember times earlier in quarantine, like before the track was closed for about a month or so, when I would come to the track, there would be maybe 2 or 3 other guys already doing workouts, maybe at like different points, and we'd all be like cheering each other on, like in between like reps or each time. And it was just such a good feeling just to be together with other people of the team, like working hard. And I mean, it's definitely something that I look forward to when we're able to get back together. And yeah, that's
Excellent. Thank you. I think we may have run out of volunteers, but excellent job. Thank you for that. Thank you, Coach Gorvin.
You're welcome.
Anything that you want to wrap up with?
Well, I emailed you those links this morning.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And you have, I think, an easier way to pass that along either to the entire group or post it on the Facebook page, or both, or however you would like to. There's a couple of live events in September and October in Essex County, Mass. One's in Hamilton, one's in Ipswich, I believe. And I don't think Pat Mahoney's on anymore. But one of them, I think, is where the Masco kids do some training, and one of the, not Bradley Palmer, but one of the other trail systems up in Ipswich. And then there were half a dozen virtual links of different kinds. One's the Bay State Marathon in Lowell in October. Has been canceled in person. It's all virtual. There'll be a marathon, a half marathon, and a 5K. You could do any one. There's one around the Ring of Kerry in Ireland, which I think is just appealing to me. A, because I'm Irish, and B, I was actually supposed to go to Ireland on vacation and couldn't go this year. We had to put it off indefinitely. So I may look into doing the Ring of Kerry one. There's a Mississippi River one, which is long. It's like 2,000 miles. It's a team relay only because of the length of it. And they all check out the links. They have different parameters for these events. Some are all have to be done on one day or in a short time window. Others you can spread out at your own discretion over weeks or months. None of them are terribly expensive, I don't think, to sign up for. And you might get a shirt, you might not. You might get a medal, you might not. I don't know. But it'll give you a structure to some training. And usually in these things, they ask you to log in every day and update, so you're held accountable to yourself as well as to the event and the other people in the event to keep reporting what your progress is.
Excellent.
Probably going to rely on that this fall. So
yeah. Excellent. I'll send those out probably in an email and on social media. We're still trying to figure out how to upload videos to YouTube because we have a channel, but no one knows what our credentials are for that because it's been a while. And we're on our third social media person since those were put up. So we're working on it. But yeah, that's it for, I guess, this morning. 12:30 JCs are doing the college application thing, and 3:30 Jordan is doing core, and he did confirm with me that he is going to have a soundtrack for core. And yoga was very good yesterday. Not too many people on there, but Nav did an excellent job doing yoga yesterday and helped stretch me out a little bit, and also reminded me just how tight all my muscles really are. So it's always a good reminder to so that I'm doing the right thing, even as I yell at a lot of you guys to do the right thing. So I will see hopefully all of you guys and more at 12:30. Thanks.
thanks, Coley.